Eden Koz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. And as we begin the show, just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a soul realignment specialist, meditation master, and dimensional healer. Learn more, and there's merch also at EdenJustBe.com. Let's get this party started. Oh, look at you. Look at you there. Beautiful. Okay, let's get started.
Okay.
Eden, Just Be, Spiritual Boom in association with the Grassroots Warriors Network. Welcome. You know, I pronounced this correctly to you the first time, but now that it's time for me to say it, I might mispronounce it. So feel free to correct me. Alisha Kapani.
That's correct.
Oh my God, that's so great. All right, out of Calgary, Canada, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
You are welcome. We are going to discuss today, I say potentially because I never know where we're going to go, but I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about depression, suicide, the quantum, theta healing, and of course the Great Awakening. And to reiterate, the reason why I come back every week and do this show, Alisha, is to let folks know who know the astounding human ascension that is going on, that you are not alone in this. And for me personally, connecting with much more like minds in my community, which is awesome. Yet I love to connect to people in Canada, in Africa, in Europe who know what's going on. I think it's so friggin' important right now. So thank you so much for you bringing your heart and all of that to the show. What do you think about that?
I agree. It's very isolating that when you awaken and then you learn all these things, and then like your closest friends and family don't know these things, and you're like, oh my God, they must think I'm crazy when I bring this kind of stuff up. And
Yeah.
you go through a whole process of like, first I want to share everything, and then you're like, okay, I don't think they're ready, so maybe not. So yeah, it's just so great to connect with like-minded people, and we can like dive deep and have these conversations. And instead of trying to force these things on my friends and
Yes.
family, that's not very loving if they're not ready for their whole foundation on how they see reality to completely change, then I'm not going to share it with them.
Yes. All right. So here is a place where you can share, and it's not only it's desired, it's loved, it's important, which is really good. Thank you for sharing that as well. All right. As y'all know, I'm going to keep coming back to these two topics. I'm conducting a Zoom class. I'm being very flexible with it at this point, probably in November, December. And again, I'm saying an hour and a half. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. But again, those who are desiring a 5D evolved divine relationship, man, I can talk about that now. I've got a lot of stuff to say. There are some qualifications. So if you are interested, email me at EdenJustBe.com, and we can go from there and see if this is a fit for you. Also, episode 188, discussing Gold IRA scams. Y'all know at this point that I was involved in one. So Miles Franklin and Kevin came on the show. Kevin helped me for 2 months to get out of the companies that I was with, to reinvest. And they're doing that. They don't care if you reinvest with them. That's not the point of it. It's to help people. And I know that for a fact because I experienced it. I experienced Kevin. So again, if this affects you at all, or if you're wanting to invest in precious metals, I highly, highly stand by these folks. So info@milesfranklin.com, put Eden in the subject line because they know me. I know them. It's good stuff. And I would say I'm probably now 2 to 3 weeks from being done with that. It was so good. Shall I read your bio now?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So Alisha, a former chemical engineer, and I find this so interesting because I've been doing meditation, teaching it for like 25 years. And anytime an engineer comes in the class, I'm like, oh gosh, get ready because it's so black and white and it's really hard for them to see the esoteric side. So I'm so excited to talk to you more about that. All right. So you turned mind body mentor after struggling with severe depression for 5 years. You assist clients all over the world to tap into their body's wisdom and to resolve illness and access their highest possibilities for vitality and abundance. And we know that this great awakening is also discovering the power that you have inside of yourself, the power of your heart, the power of your mind. All right, can you start by telling me when you started to awaken to the 3D, 5D, the matrix, whatever you want to call it? How
Mhm.
did that come about?
I think after I healed from depression, so it wasn't like for a lot of people, I feel like it's at the beginning stages of when they go through something really traumatic, but
Mhm.
I still, when I first started having depression, was just doing the distracting and like was not really diving deep, going within. It wasn't until after I healed from depression, and then that's when I started to realize, first of all, the power we have to heal our bodies. So there was already that little bit of opening now from that super analytical engineering mind to like, okay, like I think what got me into that, first of all, was understanding that the body's electromagnetic and that
Mhm.
we're primarily energy and vibration and not primarily physical. And that made a lot of sense to me. So then I was really open to receiving this whole self-healing thing and realizing there's this untapped power that our body has. And then from there, it was like I didn't really care to understand anything ever. Like, yes, it's sometimes helpful to understand stuff, but I think it's because on the human scale of consciousness, love is above reason. And so as soon as I really started to live more from love, I was like, I'm totally like fine skipping reason because I know reason is actually going to keep me in a lower consciousness. So I really just let that out of my mind that I need to fully understand something before I let it in. And so then from there, I think what really had me awaken to like how the system works and like
Yeah.
all of that was the pandemic, was me wanting to honor my body, but feeling like honoring my body was like I'm doing something wrong.
Can I
And
can I ask you real quick in terms of time
yeah,
frame? When you
yeah.
how before the pandemic, that
Mhm.
5 years of depression and suicide, when was that?
So I started having depression when I was around 22, had it
Mhm.
for like 5 years, so healed around the age of 26, 27.
Okay.
And then when did the pandemic happen? It happened like 5 years ago.
Yes.
So I would have
2020.
been, yeah, it was like pretty much right after I healed
Whoa.
from depression, like
Okay, so you went
a couple
bam,
years.
bam, bam, like healed from
Yeah.
depression, really saw the power of your mind and your body and moving away from reason, which that engineering is all about reason. And then COVID hit. Okay, wow, you had your whole foundation changed. Okay, tell
Yeah.
tell me more. Good for you.
Yeah, so yeah, during the pandemic, so obviously, I didn't get vaccinated and that was like the clearest decision of my entire life. Like,
Oh,
I don't know, I'm very intuitive, but some things just feel like a hell yes and they're so clear. And this was one of those things. It was like as simple as if you're thirsty, you drink water. Like there was no question for me, there was no researching, there was no wavering. Like it was just the clearest decision I've ever made in my life. And then after like all these things start happening, like, oh, you're not allowed to go to restaurants or you're not allowed to travel. You have to wear a mask everywhere and stuff. And I was like, I know at this point, because I had healed from depression and stuff, I already knew that your desires can't be threatened and that your true nature is unconditional love, joy, and peace. So I was never going to buy in for 1 second that it was true that I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I was like, there has to be another way that I'm just not aware of. And that had an opening for me that I started to like learn about like the law and like that it's really like we're following like commerce and maritime law and like if you're following more like common law or God's law, that there's actually a lot of things you can do and you don't have to follow these mandates. Mandates are not even the law. And also when they're communicating with you, they're communicating with you as a company or like a dead entity. And so it's just you have to like remember who you are. And that's how I kind of really like dove deep into all this stuff was more so because I felt like it can't be true that like I can't travel and I can't go to restaurants and I can't live my life freely. Like I just don't believe for a second that I can't have the things that I want. So that's what had me just be really open. And then that's how I started learning about this stuff. And then, learned more about how the financial system works. I already had ideas at this point that the medical system was um, like more of a business than
Mhm.
really like about healthcare. I learned even more about that when I actually published my book because I learned that you can't use the word heal in your title or in your ads and things like that because then they won't show your ads if you're saying, because I re originally wanted to talk about quantum healing or like that type of thing. And they're like, oh, if
Yeah.
you put that kind of thing in the title, you won't be able to run ads. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'll just call it quantum physics for beginners, And so, yeah, just like I keep learning more and more and more things that like abundance is literally your birthright. It's not like a joke, It's like
Yeah.
as soon as you were born, this trust was created that has all this money in it that you have access to. It's like infinite credit. And yeah, so I guess it started during the pandemic and then it's just things just keep showing up in my reality. The more I do healing work, the more I'm ready, I learn more and more.
Now, Canada was
Mhm.
pretty intense through everything. So, what was it like being there? And also, you had talked about that. Were you the only one that you within your connection that kind of had an idea of what was going on, or did you find other people?
I luckily found other people right before the pandemic.
Okay.
So it was really, I was just glad that I at least had like some people to talk to. I had a group of people that also didn't get vaccinated, couldn't travel, couldn't go to restaurants. We were in like the same boat and we were like, hosting events to like share with people like the power you have within to shift
Oh.
your reality and things like that because a lot of people were going into like trying to fight against.
Hmm.
And I really wanted them to know that when you're in that energy, you're in a really low vibration or low state of consciousness, and you can actually access more power when you're in the consciousness of love and peace. And so we just had like events about that, and yeah, so I was really lucky to have some people, but obviously my closest friends and family all, got vaccinated, got every booster, wearing the masks everywhere, in so much fear, like yeah. So it was really isolating for a while.
So how did you deal with that? Was it to the point of you can't come over because you're not willing or you won't wear a mask, you haven't been vaccinated, or was it, yeah, how was that?
Um, so like at first it was triggering because I felt like I was trying to share the things that I had learned at the
Yeah.
time. And then people just thought it was fun to like debate this. And I'm like, this is not fun for me. This is like me honoring my body, and that's not up for debate. And so I just realized like I
Mm.
don't want to have this conversation. So I just like didn't bring it up and I tried to never talk about it. And so with my best friend, like it was like this unspoken thing. Like she just knew I didn't do it, but we never spoke about it
Wow.
until it started to like it had to come up because then it was her boyfriend's birthday and she was like, oh, like we're gonna go to this bar. And I was like, I'm not allowed to go to bars at the moment. Because at that point I hadn't learned, the loopholes around the law and like that there is ways that you can actually go
Mm.
out and stuff. And yeah, so that's when it was the first time I had said it out loud that like I didn't get vaccinated. And a long story short, it did affect our friendship and our friendship ended.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
then later I realized the true reason our friendship ended, and then, we've worked on it and we are actually closer than ever now. But at
Wow.
first it was very much like, oh, if people don't understand me, I'm cutting them out of my life. Like it just was like so much to feel like that isolated and alone all the time and like no one understands you. it was really hard.
Wow. Okay. And I think about being in the United States, like I learned a lot of constitutional and how to speak on things, yet knowing you're in Canada, like I'm just curious with what the how you could speak in okay, what am I trying to search for? Were you able to start talking there and being where you could go into bars, where you could go into restaurants? Did you even have to do that? Or yeah, does that even make sense what I'm
Yeah,
asking?
yeah. So
Okay.
the people that I learned from lived in the States, and that was always like kind of a problem for me because I kept feeling like I was a guinea pig in
Oh,
Canada at first.
yeah.
Eventually, I found people in Canada that teach this, so that it's more like Canadian law. But
Mhm.
so at first, I was writing down like all the things to say in terms of like U.S. law, and I had like notes on my phone in
Wow.
case anyone ever said anything to me, in
Yeah.
case anyone ever said you have to put your mask on or whatever. Like I had my notes. I don't even remember now because it's been like so many years. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know what to say at this point, but I had the notes there. um, so I knew what to say if someone were to say something to me. But yeah, in Canada, like that was kind of a thing for me when I started awakening. I originally learned everything from people in the United States. And so there were some things I was the guinea pig for that now I wish that I had waited till someone else had gone through it first, because being the
Mhm.
guinea pig for things about like taxes and stuff like that was like super scary. It's all ended up working out, but like I think I just have this thing where I really want to live in unconditional freedom and I don't want to wait. Like, so if someone's not doing it, like how long am I going to wait for someone to do it? But I'm starting to realize with things that are like this intense, like it's best to like learn from a mentor who has already experienced it, embodied it, can tell me what the entire process looks like, what it felt like. Like I didn't know this was going to be such a spiritually awakening experience to go through the stuff with taxes because like all the fear in your body comes up. Every part of you that thinks like the power is outside of you and you're really doing something wrong if you're not like doing what you're told. Like all that comes up when you go through these journeys, these processes. And I wish I kind of knew what I was signing up for.
So did you stop paying taxes? Did you like I okay. How long is that? Do you still continue with that? How long ago did that start? If you're okay talking about it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can talk about it because the way I did it, I don't recommend people do it the way I did it.
Okay.
We can talk about how to do it in a much smoother way. But the way I did it, I had learned that the tax system is voluntary, which it has to be voluntary, otherwise it's considered slavery to be like, you have to pay this money and you're not allowed to question where it goes. Slavery. So it is actually voluntary, but they've made it seem like it's mandatory that every time you get a job, you have to fill out those forms. And, so once you fill out the forms, you've now agreed to pay the taxes. So essentially, I started learning about this. The tax system's voluntary. And a mentor of mine had told me about this accountant that helps you get the past 3 years of your tax returns back. And when I heard that, I was like, ooh, I want to do that because I had just left my engineering job and I used to pay a ton in taxes and I wanted all that back. So it was like coming from greed. And that was what I wish I didn't do because they were in the States and I'm in Canada. And so they weren't 100% able to help me. So I did a combination of what they taught me. And I also did some stuff that I was just guessing because I had not
Oh,
found the Canadian people at this point.
okay.
And it looked like it worked at first. Like I got my tax return money back. But
So this is
then,
all the money that you had spent that they had taken out of your salary, getting it back.
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. Go ahead, please. Wow.
Yeah. So then I got that money back for 1 year. I hadn't gone to do the other 2 years yet. And so I was like, oh my God, this works. This is awesome. But then, very long time after, the CRA just was like, actually, you owe this money. And then they just changed the numbers so that then you owe even more money. And then they're charging interest on top of it.
Oh, shucks.
And back then, I also didn't know that silence is agreement. So, like, when they were sending letters and things like that, I was like, oh, if I respond, I'm agreeing to being the straw man. So I can't respond or I can't get on the phone with them because they were calling. I was like, oh, if they say this is Alicia and I say yes, like, I've agreed to be the straw man. So I can't answer the phone. So I realize now that that was also a terrible idea. Do not ignore anything because ignoring is agreeing. So then they kept charging interest. And this is something I never would have had to pay if I didn't go down this process. So it was
Yeah.
so stressful because then it's turning into this huge amount of money. And then luckily, right when I needed it, the resource I needed showed up in my reality, and I learned about discharging debt. I learned about how we have this like infinite credit plan essentially, and that all debt is prepaid. And so many people have different ways of discharging debt. This
Yeah.
one was actually really simple, but even though it was simple, it was extremely stressful because if you're choosing to discharge something, you can't keep paying it because you're being double-minded. So I had to not pay. And so they're continuing to charge interest, continuing to send threatening
God.
letters. And so it's the scariest thing I've ever been through in my
Yeah.
life. So I had to like really understand what I was studying to know I'm not doing anything wrong, and then also welcome all the fear and like these beliefs that like they do have power over me because it's everywhere you go. It's in movies, people getting arrested for tax related things. Like it literally makes you feel like you're going to go to jail, you know?
Yeah.
So that was the scariest thing I ever went through. But I did get it discharged. And ever since I got it discharged, I just stopped filing taxes, which is easy for me because I'm not an employee.
Mhm.
If you're an employee, there's extra steps that you have to do that I didn't have to do. So I would not recommend going about it the way that I did it. So the way I do it now is I have private trusts set up. So all of my assets, all of my income, everything goes into private trusts. So I literally don't own anything. So there's nothing to report and there's nothing to come after either. It's like I don't own anything. So that's all I would recommend for people is just like set up a private trust, have your income go into a private trust if you're self-employed and then stop filling out the tax forms. And that's all you really need to do. People also do what's called a revocation of election. I haven't done it because I'm in Canada and I learned this from people in the States. So again, I didn't want to be the guinea pig and mix US Canada stuff. But I know so many people in the States that just send what's called a revocation of election to the IRS by certified mail, just essentially letting them know I don't plan on it incurring any tax liability going forward. And then they just stop filing.
I have such respect for you in doing that. Seriously, when COVID hit and there were lockdowns, I did several things as well. Looking at myself, I'm like, man, look at her go. And I would have never have done things that I did. And learning, like, what is so great about all of this is learning to really let go of fear, learning to feel again how powerful you are and how free you are if you decide that. So it does. It takes balls to do what you did. And I a couple years ago before no, I guess it was after COVID, the tax system here misplaced a comma and said I owed money when I didn't owe it. And I remember talking to the tax person. It was really hard to get them on the phone. And basically, she said the IRS doesn't make mistakes like that. And I'm like, oh, yes, you do. The threatening letters, and we're going to, take your home and all this stuff for a mistake that they had made, not even mine. So I can't even imagine what you went through. And I'm going to comment on this. I have so many colleagues and friends right now who are not paying taxes. And because as soon as we all stop being part of the system, that's what it's going to take. Also, the real ID that's out there right now and the digital credit systems and all of that. It's just, again, not to get scared of it, but to say you do not consent, that you stand up. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple more. What was the most impactful conspiracy theory that you came to see was true?
Um, I guess realizing that we have infinite credit and that abundance is actually your birthright. And as soon as you
Yep.
were born, you got all this money that's literally in your name in all capital letters. Like it's there every time you get a speeding ticket, every time you pay a parking ticket, it's taken out of that account. And then you also pay it and they're double dipping, and that every time you get a mortgage, every time you get a loan, it's taken out of your trust, your straw man. and then you are paying interest on your own credit.
That's
Like it's
crazy.
so fraudulent. Um, so I guess like learning that that was true was just so empowering because I was like, I always talk about how abundance is your birthright.
Yeah.
And now realizing like it truly is like someone who
Oh,
has, let's say nothing, like they have no money, they have the worst credit in the world, they're in like the worst financial state possible, and they think, I can't get out of this. I could never be wealthy. It is further the furthest from the truth because even if you have bad credit, I've also been learning about this that like every time they report something on your credit report without your written permission, that's also fraudulent and considered like identity theft. So you can easily get things removed off your credit report and increase your FICO score or whatever, like easily. So then anyone that's in that state can easily improve their credit score. And then when you improve your credit score, then you can get 0% interest credit. And then you can do what's called I guess manufacturing as a way to like get it off the credit card so you have actual cash.
mhm.
And then you can invest it. And then you could even just discharge that credit card if you want to. But I would not recommend the discharging process. It was the most stressful thing ever. But like
I did that
you
too.
could, right?
Okay.
You could
Yeah.
get access to your infinite credit plan and invest it in yourself, whether that's investing in your business, investing in the stock market, like whatever. And you can get your life turned around easily. Okay, maybe easy isn't the right word because there's a lot of steps, but
Mhm.
like it's available for every single person. So it was just further proof for me that abundance is every single person's birthright. Like if you have a birth certificate, if you have a SIN number, then you have this.
So good. Okay, before I go into more of the 5 years, I want to go into your dancing for a moment. I know you've mentioned that on other shows. Tell me about that before we get deeper. What is that? What have you been doing?
Yeah, so since I was 4 years old, I've been doing Bollywood dance or like every type of Indian dance. So like there's Bollywood's probably the only one you've heard of, but I do
Yeah.
Bhangra, Ras, Garba, like all the styles. Uh, and I absolutely love it now. Growing up, I didn't. I was like, this is so traditional. This is like I felt like it was something I had to do because it was
Yeah.
like my aunt was the teacher, so it was kind of like whenever you're born into the family, you're forced into this.
Mhm.
But then my sister created her own team when I was 14, and she made it very modern and intricate, and like I was so into it. And now it's like my favorite style, and I absolutely love it.
Well, I really wanted to talk about this because I felt that it was really important to you. And I know you brought it up before, but I felt like we need to discuss that because it feels like such a love in your life.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited. Okay, now we can go into, if you wouldn't mind, your the 5 years of depression. Can you talk more about that? Because I am going to ask you also when you talked about suicide to really go into that so people can also, because part about this show is there there's nothing that's off the table. I feel that honesty and hearing the truth about what someone went through, even the darkest of times, is helpful to them. Do you mind talking about that in
Not
depth?
at all.
All
Yeah,
right,
not at
let's
all.
go. Let's go into it.
Yeah, so it started when I was 22. And I guess at first I didn't like know what was happening. I just
Mhm.
noticed that I felt like unmotivated, no energy, in a bad mood all the time. And it started because of a relationship. I was dating this guy who had like extreme anxiety, and I was just in constant fear that I was going to lose him because I thought if I trigger his anxiety, he's going to leave,
Mhm.
which he did multiple times. He would like leave and
Oh,
come back every time he was triggered. And then he would come back and be like, I'm working on my anxiety. And like it would be like a little bit better each time, but he wasn't really healing the root cause. And I wasn't healing depression either. So
mhm.
like it was just this never-ending cycle of his illness is triggering my illness. And then it was just like, yeah, but that's what started it. It was I was just in constant fear that I was going to lose him if I triggered him. So I just was like suppressing everything I was feeling and thinking if I was upset, I wouldn't say it. If I needed something, I wouldn't ask for it. And that triggered the depression because I didn't realize at the time, but depression is essentially just suppressed emotions or stuck energy.
Mhm.
So that's how it started. And then the first year, I really just thought it would go away. Like I just
Well,
didn't understand. I didn't even know I had depression, and I just thought that it would go away. I thought it was circumstantial. Thought it was my birth control I was on. I thought it was because I was graduating. I already had a job lined up. So I was like, oh, maybe I don't have a sense of purpose anymore because I'm like, I'm done. I've got my dream job, at the time, that's what you think it is. So I thought the pain would go away, but then it didn't. And then it got worse when me and my boyfriend broke up. And so that's when I went to the doctor because at the time, I knew nothing about the system and I didn't know anything about the body can heal itself. And so obviously that was just the first thing I did was just go to the doctor. They put me on antidepressants. I had a unique experience with the antidepressants where it was like I was taking a sugar pill. So it didn't have positive or negative side effects. No matter how much they increased the dosage, no matter how many different ones they tried, no
wow.
matter how many they put me on at once, it had zero effect on me,
Hmm.
which I'm so grateful for to this day because if I had found a pill at the time that made me feel better, I think that would have been the end of my awakening,
Yeah.
right? Like that would have been I can manage my pain for the rest of my life, and I would have never learned all these other things. Well, I believe in divine timing, and so I think
Yeah.
something else would have happened. But I think that's why the pills didn't work for me, is like I had certain things that were part of my divine timing that were going to happen, and if I took a pill and suppressed my emotions, those things wouldn't have happened. Also, I'm just so sensitive that I don't think any amount of medication can suppress my sensitivity. Um,
Good.
But yeah, the conventional method obviously didn't work. Therapy didn't work. Seeing a psychologist didn't work. Seeing a psychiatrist didn't work. So then I started trying unconventional things. I tried hypnosis, acupuncture, EMDR, EFT, all the things. And it still wasn't working. And I realize now it wasn't working because I was just trying to make my pain go away. I was still resisting everything I was feeling. So even if I was trying something that's like very powerful, like EFT, I do use EFT a lot now, but it wasn't helping me then because I was just doing it to make my pain go away and I was never tuning into my body, asking it what it needed, giving it compassion, loving presence, like never did any of that. So it wasn't until I found Mind Body Medicine, which is all about that. Like listen to your body's wisdom already knows what it needs. So tuning into the body, realizing that your thoughts are affecting your health and your consciousness is creating everything in your reality, including your health. And once I started learning that, actually, even before I learned it and understood it, I had already healed from depression. It was just as soon as I started giving myself that without understanding why it works, why it has any power, I started healing right away.
That's so good. When you were in the midst of the suicidal thoughts, what did you contemplate?
Yeah, so I almost went through with it a couple times. So there was a time that I was going to do it,
Yeah.
and right before I was going to do it, I Googled just to see like, is this going to be foolproof? Is this actually going to work? Or am I just going to like injure myself further? And the way I was going to do it, like, those like poisonous packets that come in lots of different stuff, and it says like, do not eat poisonous,
Yeah.
whatever. So I was just going to collect a bunch of those packets and swallow them and hope that it would be poisonous. So then I Googled right before, like, what actually happens when you swallow or digest these things. And it said, oh, kids swallow it all the time and nothing really happens.
Oh no.
Yeah. So then I Googled like foolproof, painless ways to kill yourself because I
Okay.
would really wanted to at the time. And because in that moment I didn't find anything that was readily available around my house, like I actually couldn't even find anything. I've later learned that there are things, but I'm glad I didn't learn about them in the moment because in the
Hmm.
moment I couldn't find a foolproof, painless way. I was very scared of it being painful
Hmm.
or harming myself further. So I wanted it to be foolproof, like this is definitely going to work. And couldn't find anything in the moment. So that's why I didn't do it in the moment. And, later on, I also started to question, I'm like, what actually happens after? Because at that point, I didn't have beliefs or values about what happens after death. So I was like, how do I know I'm actually going to feel peace after? And then I started to think, because I was Hindu, part of me kind of believed in reincarnation.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, like what happens if my next life is worse? And then weirdly enough, when I'm in the darkest thoughts ever, I started feeling gratitude without forcing myself to feel gratitude because I was like, wow, what if in my next life I don't look this way? What if in my next life I don't have as much money as I have now? What if in my next life I'm born into a family where I'm like sexually abused or like I just started to think about how all these things that could happen in my next life because I think I truly believed that I would have a second or another life, you know?
Hmm.
And that is partly what stopped me. I was like, I don't know for sure I'm going to feel peace after, and I actually think that I'll be born into another life that could be worse. And it also made me feel a little bit of gratitude for what I did have. And that lightness, like, at least stopped me from doing it temporarily,
Yeah.
until I found mind body medicine and then I healed.
To find gratitude for that when you're in the midst of your darkest days, that's
Mhm.
pretty challenging.
Yeah, I didn't force it. That was the thing. It's just I truly was like, shit, like, what if I don't have these things in my next life? Like, I actually am grateful that I'm like beautiful and like I have more money than I could ever need. Because I was very lucky that when I went through depression, that money was not a thing. Because I can't imagine for someone who struggling with money on top of depression, and then even if you want to try a resource, you think you don't have the money to try it, you know? So luckily money was not an issue that I was like, I can try everything. Uh, but I also think that you always have what you need. So if money is an issue for you, then the resource you need could be free, right? Like you could just watch a video and heal. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think money's an issue. I'm just glad that it wasn't an additional stress factor. And those were the type of things that like I naturally truly felt grateful for. That when I didn't force it, I just felt it.
Right. And this was before your awakening too. So having the
Mhm.
money, um, having them, and it's, you spent thousands of dollars, didn't you? And I
Yeah, because
know,
I would be trying multiple things at once. And
yes.
each session is like usually $200 an hour, and you're seeing them every week, and I'm seeing
Mhm.
multiple people. So at least a couple $1,000s every month.
Oh my gosh. And when you really start tapping into the holistic stuff that isn't covered by any sort of insurance, or because to me, that's the stuff that really is significant.
Mhm.
So, yeah, a lot coming out of your pocket. I'm really glad that you could do that for yourself. When, okay, when you found your mentor, all right, describe that.
Yeah, the way I found her was very synchronistic. I heard her speak on a summit, and I don't remember signing up for the summit, which I always think is the best. When you don't have to force it and it's
Yeah.
not like searching, like I literally don't remember signing up for it. Because I wasn't into this stuff back then, right? I wasn't into spirituality and self-healing and all the things. So I don't know how I found it, but as soon as I heard her speak, I just knew I wanted to work with her. And there was no other speaker on the summit that gave me that feeling. And at that point, I had actually promised myself that I wouldn't spend any more money on anything healing related, because it had been years of spending thousands and nothing working, that I was like, let's stop wasting your money. Like, nothing works. So the fact that I didn't even question, I immediately signed up for her DIY course, and I healed just from the DIY course without even working with her privately yet.
Ooh.
Obviously, I worked with her privately after, and like every area of my life kept expanding and growing working with her. She changed the trajectory of my entire life. It's just crazy to think that when I heard her on the summit and took her course, that I didn't realize that the trajectory of my entire life was going to change. I didn't know that I was going to start working for her. Like I did start working for her a couple of years later. I didn't realize that was going to be what changed my career from engineering to this. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that that was the thing that was going to help me heal from depression and anxiety and physical illness and transform my relationships. Like, I didn't realize that. I was just like, oh, I'm listening to a summit. Like.
I've done this before. I've
So,
done something like this before. And then boom, everything changed.
yeah.
What are your ideas now in terms of life after this body? Also, knowing that we're going into a great awakening and our physical bodies are going to be changed, our spiritual bodies are going to be changing. Yeah, what are your feelings about death and the afterlife and all of that. All of
Yeah,
that.
so I believe that when we die, we go back to being pure love and that we choose to come to Earth to learn certain things. So you may choose to come back if there's more that you want to learn and more you want to integrate, or you might choose not to, but I have a feeling you would choose it. So I think you would reincarnate and come into another life. And I do believe that you choose a lot of things before you come here. You choose your parents, you choose which life you're being born into because you're like, oh, if I have these parents, then I'll be able to learn these lessons and integrate these things. So I'm going to choose them as my parents. And yeah, so I guess I believe in reincarnation. I believe in past lives.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't believe in like heaven or hell. I don't think because the thing that feels heavy about that for me is that if you don't like make up, I don't know what the word is, repent your
Yeah.
sins.
Yeah. Judgment,
Yeah,
all
if you
that.
don't repent your sins, then you go to hell forever. But it's like, but what if you were never taught how to heal these things and grow and expand? Are you just you're screwed for life? Like, and also I don't even believe that's true. I believe we're all guided. So let's say you were someone that was just taught to suppress everything and then so you're being guided but you're ignoring the guidance and so then you never truly heal and so you keep doing destructive things like, really? Because you're carrying the same energy as like everyone else. Like, we're not really one's not better than the other. And I find a majority of people on the planet are not doing healing work. So are you saying that like 99% of the planet is going to hell? Like it just
Yep.
doesn't resonate with me that if you don't do this in this life, you're screwed forever and you don't get more opportunities and like I don't know, it just feels extremely heavy for me. And also, like, I feel like I remember things about my past lives.
Oh, I
And
do.
so
Yeah.
I'm like, how can it be true that I only had one soul, one life? So my soul only had one life when I'm remembering past lives. It just
Mhm.
doesn't feel light to me.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I believe in a loving God, and even the Bible and other texts talk about a loving God, but on the other hand, there's this God that's also portrayed heavily judgmental, which I feel like right now through this great awakening on earth is heaven and hell. And we are moving, if you choose to, into heaven right now, right here. And that so many spiritual things that used to be like karma and contracts, that all of those are going to be changed, broken. I mean, it is a fantastic time to be alive, challenging.
Mm.
Yet I moved away. Well, I've tried to move away from the word challenging now, escalating the vibration to everything being an adventure,
Mm.
moving away from challenge completely. Uh, Tell me about theta healing.
Yeah, so theta healing is something I found more recently, like within the past few years. Theta healing is It's a modality that was created by Vienna Steibel, and she had cancer in her leg and healed that. And everyone was like, how did you heal that? And she's like, I just asked God. And they're like, well, I ask God all the time and I don't
Yeah.
get what I'm asking for. So then she created this whole modality and started to realize that, like, well, a lot of different things. When people are connecting with God, usually they're not actually connecting with God. Like entities can come in and pretend to be God. So you might not even be praying or asking to creator or God or creation energy. That's one thing. And also, if you have limiting beliefs that like God's not really there for you or healing can't happen that quickly or I'm meant to suffer or anything,
Yeah.
and the healing won't happen. So you have to do belief work. So that's something that theta healing does. A lot of people, when they connect with creation energy or the seventh plane of existence, they call it, the healing happens just by them being in that energy. But then for other people, that doesn't happen. And so they need belief work. We need to just shift some beliefs so that you can receive the healing. So theta healing is a lot like hypnosis, except with zero guesswork
Mm.
and without the client having to hold a theta brainwave state and do a meditation to get into a theta state and then hold it and then ask their subconscious mind questions. Like that's not needed because when the practitioner connects with what's called creation energy, you can call it whatever you want. God, creator, creation energy, universal source consciousness, wherever you believe everything is created from, when you're connecting with that energy, you're automatically in a theta brainwave state. So the practitioner does it, and then the practitioner asks you for permission to connect with you in the seventh plane. And as soon as you give permission, the client's immediately in a theta brainwave state. So that's why I love it, because when I used to do hypnosis, I was not able to stay in a theta brainwave state. I found it really hard.
Yeah.
But now, like, I could be writing notes. I do write notes in my theta healing sessions. I don't have to be eyes closed, relaxed. I could be eyes open writing notes, and I'm still in a theta state, and I'm still reprogramming my subconscious mind, which is why I like it. I also like that there's no guesswork, because you just ask the creator what's needed or where did this start, and the creator will tell you, oh, it was a past life thing, or this is actually an ancestral thing, or this
Mhm.
happened in your childhood. So Theta Healing talks about how we hold beliefs on four levels: core, genetic, history, and soul. So core means in this lifetime, the beliefs that you created, which are usually in the first 7 years of your life, because that's when you're in a slower theta brainwave state. And then soul means past lives, right? So these are things you've learned from your past lives. And then genetic and history are the same thing, except history is 7 generations or longer. So that's more like ancestral things that have been passed down to you. So the creator will tell you you're holding this on all four belief levels, you're only holding this on one belief level, and the creator will tell you exactly what to replace it with, because you have to pull that belief and then you have to replace it with the new program because you need an operating system. So the creator will literally tell you, this is the program. Do you want it? You have to give permission for everything. So you say yes or no. And then you download it in all the belief levels. And yeah, so that's kind of what theta healing is like. It's one of the fastest forms of healing I've ever found, which is why I start to incorporate it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
And this is so great too, because that's what I feel the Great Awakening too is breaking all of these patterns. And I like on other shows too, talking about programming, because that is what the Matrix is getting out of this programming. That
Mhm.
sounds fabulous. All right. Looking at the time, because I want to move into the Just Be practice in a moment, yet I also want to talk to you a little bit about divine timing.
Mm.
Tell me about that from your perspective.
Yeah, so what I've learned about it through theta healing is that some people have things that are part of their divine timing that they chose before they came here, and not very many. Like it's some people don't have any, some people have like one thing, some people might have like five things, but it's very rare to have like a ton of things that are in your divine timing. That like divine timing means it's going to happen no matter what. So if you're resisting it, then life can get really chaotic and things can fall apart to make sure that you follow your divine timing, right?
Mm,
So for some people, who they're going to marry is divine timing. Who they're going to have kids with is divine timing. For some people, it's not. So they could end up with any of, like, apparently we have an average of 14 soulmates in a lifetime. Some romantic, some not, some compatible, some not, some unfinished business, all those types of stuff. But you could end up with any of the 14 soulmates if you don't have a divine timing life partner and have a great life and a conscious partnership with any one of them, versus someone who has a divine timing life partner, you're ending up with that person one way or another. You know, if I married someone else today, life's gonna have to rearrange itself to make sure to make room for that partner. Like it's already decided. I apparently have five things that are in my divine timing. I'm pretty sure having depression was one of them. Have a divine timing life partner. Apparently, learning more about why we want to have a low frequency and high vibration is part of my divine timing, because a lot of people say increase your frequency, but that's not actually true. Like if you've ever studied heart brain coherence, when you're in a state of coherence, that's zero point 0.1 hertz. And the Schumann frequency of the planet is like 7 or 8 hertz. Like it's a very low frequency, but yet we're taught increase your frequency. So apparently that's part of my divine timing to learn why you actually want to have a low frequency instead of a high frequency, apparently. So, yeah, divine timing just means it's something that you chose before you came here. And so that's technically something you don't have free will over. Everything else you have free will, except for things that you chose before you came here. Technically, that's not free will, but you still chose it before you came here. So,
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you a question. I have the map of consciousness in my
Mm.
studio because it
Yeah.
is really great to show people that visual. So the scales, is that not a vibrational scale? What kind
Nope,
of a
it's
scale is
actually
that?
measuring power. So it's
Okay.
like so I because I read Power versus Force twice. That's
Yes.
where that came from.
Yeah.
First time I read it, I didn't see anything about units. I'm because of my engineering mind, I'm like, what are the
Yes.
units? And I read it the second time and it only said it once in the entire book, and it was like watts or something.
Okay.
Like it was power. It was power. It's not free, it's not hertz. It's yeah, it's power, essentially.
Okay. You are definitely, I mean, that you coming in with that being one of your divine timing, that totally makes sense with your acumen and what you came in and what you've studied. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really great. Because I talk about high vibration. So this is making me think a good bit too. Mostly high vibe, just that. Okay, how do I even word this? It is like feeling up
Mhm.
and positivity and just this, like for me, this energy and this power that comes over. Yet also within that, it's not about carrying this, oh, I'm so positive, but also being calm and being this presence that can withstand any of the storms. So there is this also this down part that is very, very prudent in that, very visceral, very, because you are stationary. And to be that, you have to be so solid and so calm. All right. So this is giving me, because what you're saying makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I
And just
love
to
the
clarify,
heart
high
breather.
vibration is correct.
Okay.
You still want a high vibration, high consciousness.
Okay.
It's just you want a low frequency.
Okay. All right. Say that one more time.
So you want a high vibration or a high consciousness, but you want to be in a low frequency. And if you think about it, frequency is one over time.
Yeah.
So essentially, you would heal faster the lower your frequency.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like things will
Kind of,
be sped up.
yeah. Okay. Kind of, sort of, because you have the mind for this. This is not my forte because I'm how would you say it? Much more feeling of that, yet you can calculate it, I guess. All right, so explain it one more time.
So frequency is one over time. So
Hmm.
if let's so that means they have an inverse relationship, right?
Hmm.
So time, if that's a really, really big number and you're going one divided by a really, really big number, that's a super small number.
Hmm. Got it.
But if you're dividing by a really, really small number, then frequency would be a really big number. So since they have an inverse relationship, it means that
Okay.
the faster something is, the slower the time, the smaller the number, the sorry, let's reword this. Like since frequency and time have an inverse relationship, it just means that the faster something is, the lower the frequency is, if that makes sense. Or yeah.
Yes. Yes. All right. Thank you for explaining that a little bit more. How about we move into the Just Be practice, unless there's anything else you want to say before we get there, because that'll be kind of the end of our show.
I don't think so. We can go
All
into
right.
it.
Let's go into it. All right. What are you going to bring to us today?
Just be
So yeah, I have
practice.
my go-to mind body tool that I use to process like all my emotions. This is what helped me heal from depression.
Oh,
This is what helped me heal from everything. So it's just 3 steps: awareness, breath, conscious choice. Maybe I'll explain the steps and then we can go through it. But
awesome.
um, awareness is essentially you're going to be bringing more awareness to what you're feeling and experiencing rather than less. And we'll do that together. There's lots of different ways you can do it. And then breath is slower, deeper belly breaths to activate your parasympathetic rest and digest state. And then part C is conscious choice. So conscious choice just means like you're going to choose to anchor in something that you think you really need to hear in that moment, or like a higher consciousness or higher vibration. Like I choose to feel peace now. I choose to relax my body, choose to be easier on myself, or something of that nature. And I'll guide you through that. And if you get caught up on part C, just remember it's the least important part of the equation because your natural state is love, joy, and peace. So when we do awareness and breath, we're already dissolving d unwanted energy, heavy emotions, and what will be underneath is love, joy, and peace because that's your natural state. So you could just leave it at that and just do A and B. But the purpose of part C is just to expand the lightness. When you're already feeling a little bit lighter, bring in like an affirmation or some sort of truth. But if you're getting confused, which a lot of people do, you can totally skip part C. It's not like needed.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay, so you can close your eyes, and everyone listening can close their eyes. And you can bring to your awareness something that's been triggering you lately, or if you're already triggered about something right now, something stressing you out, you could just tune in now, ask your body, hey, how are you doing? And if there's something in particular that you're wanting to process, there's no threat in bringing it to your awareness now. So you can think about that thing that brings up fear or shame or guilt. And even if you can't name the emotion, totally fine. Just bring to your awareness something that's been triggering you lately. And once you're aware of it, I want you to notice where you feel it in your body. Because if it's truly a trigger, you're going to feel some sort of discomfort somewhere in your body. If you're not feeling it, that must mean you're still in your mind. So you can imagine like an elevator coming from the top of your head all the way down into your heart, as if you're taking an elevator all the way from your mind down into your body. And yeah, when you think about this thing that's triggering you, where do you feel the discomfort in your body? In your stomach, in your chest. Just notice where you feel it. And then you can rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. If 1 is it's not bothering you very much at all, and 10, it's really bothering you, it's really triggering, where is it at? And you don't have to answer it out loud, just for yourself. What do you think it's at? And it doesn't really matter what the answer is. The purpose is just that you're tuning in with curiosity, with pure awareness. And do you notice anything else about this energy? Does it have a size? If you feel it in your stomach, is it like taking up your entire stomach, or is it more like a little pebble, tiny little rock you feel? If you feel anxiety, sometimes it feels like butterflies in your stomach fluttering. So does it have a texture? Is it like a hard rock and it's like smooth? Or is it more kind of like a fluttering feeling taking up your entire stomach? Does it feel like a pit in your stomach? Maybe you don't feel it in your stomach. Maybe it's in your chest or your throat. What's the size? Does it have a temperature? And remember, the answer to these questions does not matter. This is just a way to bring more awareness within so you're not resisting what you're feeling. And so your body can work as it's designed and dissolve these emotions for you. So now you can bring in the breath. So it can take as little as 3 belly breaths to get out of fight or flight. But if you're really triggered, you might need a lot more. But let's take at least 3 slower, deeper breaths into our belly. So around 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. I like to breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth. And you can imagine a red balloon in your stomach inflating with the inhale and deflating with the exhale so that your body will start to follow that since it doesn't know the difference between the real and the imagined. You can just imagine your belly breathing, and then eventually your breath will follow. So let's take at least 3 breaths like that right now. Around 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. I like to feel my body soften even more on every exhale to see how much I can soften my body. So take a few more breaths and let your intention be to just soften 2% more. So if you were really triggered, I would keep doing A and B until you start to feel a little bit lighter before you bring in part C. But we're going to bring in part C for now, just so you know what it's like. But I would not recommend bringing it in when you're still feeling really dense, because then it's like putting ice cream on top of poop and trying to make yourself feel positive when you actually feel really shitty. So don't do it unless you're feeling a little bit lighter. So now we're going to bring in a conscious choice. So whenever I can't think of what conscious choice to bring in, I usually say, I choose to relax my body and be at total peace now. And I feel my body soften as I say that to myself. I choose to relax my body and be at total peace now. If there's something else that you want to choose, like if you've been really hard on yourself lately, you could choose, I choose to be easier on myself. I choose to soften around this thing I've been really stressing about. I choose to trust that I'm taken care of and resourced. Whatever you feel like you need to hear in this moment. And then whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Mm. I'm having a little bit. That's good. That's not only good, it's great.
Thanks.
I share a lot what happens to me when we do the practices. I have this really interesting thing that is very triggering today, and I have found I don't know if I was triggered. I'm feeling like okay, how do I explain this to you? That I'm not the more at peace I become, the less and less I get triggered. Yet there are still some things that come up occasionally, and how I was thinking of how to handle it and what to do in doing that exercise, still questioning myself, everything said, yes, you're doing good. You just
Mhm.
bring a little bit more love into it. So that was so nice to get this confirmation because before we started the show, actually, I was going to tackle it and everything inside said, just wait. So I'm like, okay. And this is perfect. So I could focus on it right now. And now I'm just bringing more love into it, but still this firmness that needs to be there. Yeah, really good. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Okay, your website, I'm going to post it, alishakapani.com.
Yes.
Okay, and then we're also going to have your Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok links down below. Thank you so much for coming on today. I always tell folks to be very discerning with my guests. I research and, but a lot of it is I don't know until, well, I know a lot, yet there are some guests that come on that I think there've only been a couple that I'm just like, and there's always value to publishing things, yet yeah, you feel really good. And I'm very excited of how awake you are. And that also gives hope also for people watching, listening, for the younger generation, because we know that I believe people, especially in their teens and 20s, that is going to be the tipping point of all this. So I'm so excited that you've not only come into it, you've, again, I know the name of this podcast is Just Be Spiritual Boom, but you've boomed into it. So I'm really excited for that. I am excited for the people that come to you. Yes, thank you so much for being a force in this world. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am very grateful it happened to me at a young age.
Me too. All right. And I tag onto that. I started becoming awake spiritually in my 20s, yet it wasn't until COVID that I became awake to the world. So I had a while to transition between the two of them, and it was still really challenging. And again, you boom, boom, boom into all of it. And yeah, it's really, I enjoy seeing how quickly it can be now, and that it's good. It flows. It's excellent. So yay. Thank you so much. All right, all you people, we'll see you next week. Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.